Now, the Information Regulator is baring its teeth and has issued its first fine. The Justice Department will have to pay R5 million fine for failing to comply with an enforcement notice issued in May. Now, the department failed to provide evidence that it had renewed various licenses. This is in breach of certain sections of the Protection of Personal Information Act, or POPI Act, if you will. Chairperson of the Information Regulator, Advocate Pansy Tlakula, speaks to us now. Thank you so much for making time for us. What does this mean in the broader context of just the average South African in as far as the POPI Act is concerned, Advocate?
Thank you very much, and good evening to you and your listeners. It means that the Protection of Personal Information Act has come into effect. That all private and public bodies have to ensure that they comply with the provisions of the Act insofar as personal information in their possession or under their control is concerned, and that if they fail to do so, the regulator will definitely take action.
And this fine of R5 million for failing to comply with the enforcement notice issued in May, how did they arrive at this figure?
The Act is very clear in terms of what we have to look at. We have to look at the seriousness of the data breach that was suffered, the impact thereof, whether it's a matter of public interest, whether the responsible party responded when we sent our enforcement notice. So the Act does, lay down the factors that we have to take into consideration in coming up with the amount of the administrative fine. Now, if you look at the impact of the data breach, at the time when it occurred, it affected the entire justice cluster. The courts were affected, maintenance could not be paid. So the data breach had very serious consequences. And in addition to that, we looked at what really was the cause of the data breach, because as you know, hackers are all over the place. At times you can put, or a responsible party can put the best security systems in place, but they can still be breached. But in this particular case, the department failed to renew the antivirus license, the intrusion detection license, and that detection intrusion license would have enabled them to detect when there was unusual activity in their network, and they were not able to do that because the license had expired, and it expired in 2021. And we did our investigation in 2022 after they experienced the breach, or they discovered it. And we finished our investigation in February. In February, after we completed the assessment, we then submitted the provisional report to them so that they could comment. And at that time in February, they had still not acquired the licenses because they informed us that they had started the procurement process. So these are the factors that we took into consideration in coming up with the amount of R5 million.
And of course, cybersecurity is a big conversation in South Africa, in the world right now. If you are found vulnerable or having vulnerable systems, you are easily hackable. Have they, since your report, remedied the situation? Has anything been done by the Justice Department to prevent, if I may use that phrase, future attacks?
Well, we don't know, because in the enforcement notice that we sent them in May, that's exactly what we wanted to find out whether they had put in place mechanisms to ensure that this does not occur in future. But unfortunately, they did not respond to us. So as we are speaking, you and I, we don't know whether the issues that led to the security compromise have been dealt with or not.
And Advocate, what's going to happen next? Where to from here?
From here, we're waiting. They have to respond to us within 30 days, whether they're going to pay the fine or whether they elect to be charged criminally. If after 30 days they have not come back to us to tell us about their decision, then we'll approach the court, which will, in this case, will be the court having jurisdiction, where we'll then submit a statement to the effect that they have not paid the fine. And that statement that we'll have submitted to the registrar will have the effect of a civil judgment against them. If they wish to be tried criminally, they can also tell us so that we can then approach the police, and the person who will be responsible will be the accounting officer, who is the DG.
Are there other such similar cases on your desk that are facing possible fines by you as the regulator?
Yes, there are. At the moment we have, and today we had a meeting, we're looking at the number of security compromises or data breaches that have been reported to us. We have over 1,000. Not all of them are serious, but we have probably 6 or 7 that are quite serious. And in the next few weeks, we will be looking at them, and there's a possibility of fines that are also going to be levied against some of those responsible parties that we're presently investigating.
And are you privy to the names of these parties? Are you in a position to tell us who they are? Maybe 2? I know I'm asking too much.
Well, I'm not by this. I can't give you the names of the responsible parties that are going to be fined. What I can tell you is that you know that there are responsible parties that suffered quite major data breaches, and this information is in the public domain. You'd know that TransUnion suffered quite a big security compromise last year. Discam also suffered a security compromise. ShopRite did. The University of South Africa, also the University of Johannesburg. So I'm not saying these are going to be fined. I'm just saying to you, these are some of the security compromises that are on our desks for investigation.
Advocate, thank you so much for making time for us here on Today on eNCA this afternoon. That is regulator Pansy Tlakula chatting to us live this afternoon. Let's move on.